Okay, good afternoon or good evening, everyone. So we have the futures open here at S&P's up at 4,366 and the Nasdaq is up 14,815. We have an A6 in the Russell as well, along with AMD and Alta. So right now, with the market being so choppy and that S&P gap, where we've been haven't had a follow through day yet, and we're gonna go ahead and investigate this quickly just at the market internal. So today and tomorrow is a really good day to really see if there is a good understanding, or if there is an edge in reading all this stuff that I have here on the workspace. And clearly, if you look at the trend today, we had 2.07, and then yesterday we had a trend hitting about 1.39, I believe. Let's just take a look here quickly. The trend hit about 1.35 here and 1.36 on the first 3-minute candle here. So whenever the trend does something like this, that indicates that the market is going to stage some sort of rally, not today, not on this particular day, but on the next day. Okay, and that's what happened. We had the market crashing in the futures after Tuesday. Okay, it's been super choppy, and then this morning, as the futures were dumping, we saw the trend hit 2.07. So that immediately tells you that the market's going to be choppy, and there's likely to be a market rally in the near future, in the next 1 or 2 days. Probably tomorrow, based on this kind of candlestick pattern here, BLT. So whenever you see a 2.07, that's basically, in theory, you should be looking to open up positions at the end of the day, near the end of the day, because sometimes they kind of rip it up into the close. And catching the perfect entry is almost near impossible in this type of choppy market. But the most important thing here is this 2.07 in the trend. What is it going to do? What does it mean to the markets? And where do we go from here? So basically, 2.07 implies that there's going to be a day in the market where everything moves up higher. So today, everything moved up higher, right? So we got, at the end of the day, Apple moved up, a little bit more. AMD, we closed off half of those. We still have Boeing, okay, with Apple. Roku made a crazy move. Should have averaged down on that one. Should have seen that coming. Shopify, okay, and CRVS. Those are just 2 contracts. So we have all these positions open, and we're kind of looking to see where this market is going. And what I see here is, based on the market internals, we're moving higher. Okay, we're going to move a lot higher. And today's clue here was the capitulation line here. Okay, this orange line means capitulation, and if it breached through it but didn't really sell off and close toward this green threshold level all the way down to the second threshold level, that's a pretty big threshold level right there. That's a 2 standard deviation. That's by the dip. So, oops. Sorry about that. So right now we have the trend 2.07, and the S&Ps are trading higher now toward this ATR trailing stop, and we have the VIX selling off slowly, about to trigger that ATR trailing stop to go down and follow through with tomorrow's trading day. And we have improving ticks showing green gradients trying to push through that 0 line, and that would be pretty bullish for tomorrow. The S&P probably would, looking like it wants to break out here above this 4,385. That could be near-term resistance, and it pulls back. Okay, so now looking into the actual charts of some of these tickers. Let's first off look at the S&P on the daily. So the S&P on the daily has been super choppy. You can see this red, green, red, green, red. Pretty much chop for a very long time here, about I think 2 months. And it looks like it's starting to trend, or start a trend. And when we take a look at the TTM squeeze, there's actually an A6. So if this is the bottom of this correction, then this A6 is setting up for a massive move up to at least this point of control at 4,434, and then yes, top here at 4,470. That's a lower high, and then if it's really bullish, we get a higher high, making a new 52-week at 4,545. Okay, so we got A6 in the S&P that's coming in along with the NASDAQ, and that is setting up for a move up to at least the 21-day moving average at 4,393, and then point of control here is at 4,434. Consolidates a little bit here, and then we take off to new 52-week highs, running up to 5,000 by the end of the year. So futures are currently up, and we have a BLT set up on the S&P. We have AMD, BA, Roku, Tesla, Shopify, a bunch of positions going into tomorrow with this massive move here that's being expected in this A6 S&P. The trend hit 2.07, indicating that everyone is going to be maybe the best trader in the world day tomorrow. Looking for that follow through going into Thursday. Now what's going to happen on this UVOL DVOL, as you can see today, actually yesterday we had decent volume coming in, but not quite the sell the F and rip indicator, or the threshold level that wasn't met. And then last night the market dumped really hard in the futures and then closed off strong green today, as we saw the volume kind of deteriorate throughout the whole entire day, go through the capitulation line, and then somehow stage a massive rally into the end of the day, as you can see here with the ticks with that positive strong gradient, making a triple bottom here. Okay, these are pretty crazy. In addition to that, we have the VIX also. It was about up 6 to 7%, and then it faded all day to close negative, and now we might have a follow-through day tomorrow, Thursday, with a trend at 2.07 and a BLT that's actually starting to form that BLT, expecting a move at least up to 4,420. So then when we look at tomorrow, what's most likely going to happen is we want one of these things, these type of profiles, to develop. And if this happens, then you're going to see this profile persist all the way to the top of this 2 standard deviation move. So on Monday, on Tuesday, that turnaround Tuesday, this is what our turnaround Tuesday was. And then we got a massive sell-off or a dump, okay? And then it quickly reversed. So all that selling that happened this morning, it made it all back plus more on that small little piece of volume right here. Can you believe it? All that selling was consumed by all the buying that started here. Okay, so it doesn't take a lot. That means, well, based on visual graphics, it looks like it doesn't require a lot to move the market. Okay, so as long as the S&P futures are green, VIX starts to roll over and starts trading deep in the red, -6%, and we got this UVOL DVOL forming one of these profiles tomorrow morning, then this trend at 2.07 is going to drop down to 0.8 and form a very, very thick red cloud like this right here, but not in this advanced declining section here. It's going to do it on this trend. So this is the edge, okay? The edge came in this morning at 2.07. We had a bit of an edge yesterday at 1.37 on Tuesday when the trend hit that level. indicating that the market was going to stage a rally today, which it did, but it staged a rally with some consequences. It dumped like 1 to 2, almost 1.4, 1.3% last night. Okay, and then it rallied hard. So this was predicted. Now, what we're predicting going into the next 2 days is that the everyone is the best trader in the world day is going to develop on Thursday, and that's because of the 2.07. That 2.07 was the clue, and we got that cloud that persisted throughout pretty much the whole entire day, and closed at 1.25, and then and tomorrow we're expecting it to drop at 0.8. Now, the opposite side of the trade here is that if the trend does not drop below 0.8 tomorrow morning and it spikes up again at 2.07, that means Friday we're going to crash. Okay, so this is a warning sign might come up in the trend if it hits 2 and the market starts to not rally anymore. Okay, so if that's the case, then I'll be looking to open up my first set of puts for the month of October. All right, so taking a look at the futures right now, we can see that the S&P and the NASDAQ are trading higher. We have AMD closed off half at around $1.74, and it's moving higher in the pre-market by another dollar, pretty much 70 cents. And then we have Boeing that's actually moved up about 50 cents, 51 cents after the close. Okay, I still have Boeing, and Boeing is the daily Wolf Wave setup. And I also picked up Shopify. So Shopify has a Wolf Wave on the 15-minute time frame with a target of 1434, 1420 by tomorrow. Okay, so that's a pretty big move. There's a lot of gaps. Roku, I still have the 360 calls, and onboarders should have the 360 calls along with Tesla calls. Tesla's also trading up 50 cents in the pre-market. So a lot of the tickers are now are up in the pre-market. You can compare the close and the ask. So everything is up about 50 cents on average. And that's a good thing, okay? That's what we want. NVIDIA is also up like $1.85 in the pre-market. After hours, and Roku is also up almost $3. So big moves coming in. And then you can see there's also 78-minute TTN squeezes in Boeing. And that is a potential setup for a big move on the main time, on the 30-minute time frame. So if you go to main server 102, and I show you the Boeing sign here. So Boeing's got this purple D. Purple Ds are, they can, we're up against 52-week highs in the S&P, and it almost pulled back to the 200-day moving average, which it could still do. Okay, I'm not really quite sure if this correction is quite over with. I think the gap will fill probably after earnings. But if this Boeing purple D breaks out at 229, then we're up pretty fast at 244. So I still have those contracts. That's a purple D with a 78-minute TTM squeeze. And that we're expecting, since it's a 78-minute TTM squeeze, I'm expecting Boeing to break out tomorrow. We also have Netflix. Staggered positions. Netflix has a 30-minute TTN squeeze. We missed Netflix yesterday. Okay, that was way too fast. But got in at the end of the day for Netflix. Staggered positions in the 690 calls and the 740 calls. 740 calls are the ones that where earnings are, so you can go really far out of the money and not have to worry about the data decay. For onboarders, we still have the 360 Roku calls. Obviously this thing is ripping up higher, and I think actually the 340 calls are going to be able to make profit and actually make a lot of profit. It kind of sucks that I closed them off because that market dump on Monday was pretty nasty. But yeah, that's Roku right there. That's probably going to trigger TGIT. Netflix probably has a good shot of moving up higher and making the second Darvas channel at around 660 to 670. So that's it's either the target first or the time cycle. So that 30-minute TTM squeeze, because already you can see the futures are trading a little higher. If it remains trading higher tomorrow, then Netflix is going to run up to 660, 670, and then start peaking on cycle 2 and 3 on the 30-minute time frame with this TTM squeeze. And then also Tesla, it's also got a 30-minute TTM squeeze along with Google. I don't have Google. Instead, I picked up Shopify. But Tesla has a 30-minute TTM squeeze with a 78-minute TTM squeeze. It is scanning all over the place. And this squeeze right here might be able to, I got weeklies on these, not a big position. But if this squeezes, it's probably going to run up to 834, at least 7% by the end of this week, since we do have a weekly BLT setting up on Tesla, which I'll show you right here. So on the weekly time frame for Tesla, you can see that the news on the delivery was great. So it pushed it up to about 807, so a higher high, but it's trading red. So that means in order for this BLT theory to be correct, then this bacon should equal to the tomato right here. That's BLT, which means that there's, so if we draw, take this box right here and oops, move it right about here. So we should see about a 831 move. That's a BLT right there. Which means there's probably around 5% left going into this Thursday and Friday. Okay, so that's earnings run is the catalyst as well. So lots of upside here. This is a bargain in terms if you're looking at this setup as a BLT. Obviously, it traded like junk today, right? It just traded flat, and the trend would have helped you stay out of this trade or not get position sized too heavy, and maybe possibly add more at the end of the day. But because it's weekly, sometimes you can make a decision to open it up a position when you bought the dip at the bottom or just at the end of the day. In theory, end of the day is better than opening up during the day. So that's Tesla, and then I also have AMD. So AMD has an A6, and that's for next week. So all we have to do, I've already closed off half at $1.73, and all I gotta do now is just kind of watch this A6 here that's scanning with a 0.00 red, just to trigger cycle 1 and 2. So when it triggers cycle 1, I'll see how much money there is that's generated, and then maybe even just hold it all the way into Friday. And I'm just kind of concerned about Monday, because every Monday so far has been dumping, right? So we want to be careful with going into Monday. So AMD's got that A6 right there, so it's probably going to trigger cycle 1 tomorrow and make another 2 to 3% move by the end of the day, because the trend is going to hit. If the trend hits 0.8, that means the market is going to stage a rally all the way through the end of the day. If the trend hits 2 and above, then we have to be very careful about the market selling off on Friday. Okay, so that's the market internals suggesting that we're moving higher on tomorrow with that BLT on the S&P. So all we have to wait for, all we need to confirm is that trend dropping below 0.8 and not see a trend over 2.0 tomorrow. If we see a trend over 2.0, we got to make sure that the market continues to trade relatively strong and the VIX is dropping. Otherwise, if the trend is 2 and the VIX starts to trade green and the S&P starts to pull back and trade weak, the market is going to take a dump on Friday. Okay, so we also have, so I talked about AMD, I talked about Boeing. So Boeing's got a 78-minute TTM squeeze with a 30-minute purple D. So we're looking for a breakout tomorrow. okay, because we can see that there's a 70-minute TTM squeeze. And we also have Roku, the 360 calls, 395, 405, 440 calls. They're not the biggest positions. And I got Apple's November 160 calls, and then Tesla, those are the $900 calls. So onboarders should have Tesla and Roku in your portfolio, and for discretionary trades, you should have a lot. I have a lot. I have Apple, Boeing, Shopify, Tesla, Netflix, Roku, and AMD going into tomorrow. All right, so let me just take a look at Shopify. So Shopify here is trading another 1% higher. The ask is at 1,365. So it is likely to kind of gap up along with Roku. Roku's also up another 1.5%. It's gapping up. And that gap higher is got a pre-market. So it's going to be a little bit choppy. I don't know exactly what to expect out of this, but there is a nice 195-minute TTM squeeze that's forming in Shopify along with the 15-minute. So this 15-minute is going to take precedence for short-term traders because it's going to go ahead and trigger first, cycle 1, 2, and 3. Long-term wise, on the 195-minute, you can see that if it does open up higher tomorrow and it starts running off this TTM squeeze, then there's a good chance that we get a repeat of this kind of BLT. So this is bacon, lettuce, tomato. So this would be about a 3% move here. So if we get a 3% move there, then we can expect another 3.11% here. That would take it up to around 1,393. And that would be the ultimate BLT. That would be coinciding with the double top with these two candlesticks. And I guess this gap fill would be something that would happen next week. Because if it moves up 3% tomorrow, the only problem now is that it becomes very extended away from the 6-day moving average. And what that means is that if I turn on the it's not showing. If I turn on the, let's go ahead and take a look at Shopify here. So that's Shopify on the daily. And let me just put that back. So the point of control here is at 1431. So that's good to know. And on the daily, we got a piece of bacon. And the best case scenario would be a double bacon, which would mean that it would be closing around like that. And if I turn on the indicator, which is kind of not showing. Yeah, you can see that the 6-day moving average is right there. So if it moves up higher, then this 6-day moving average is most likely going to move up to 1364. And Shopify, like we mentioned before, will probably be trading at 13 to 1400. 1400, I would guess, I would assume, from here to here. This would be the double top, 1392, coming off of that 15-minute TTM squeeze. It also has a 21-day moving average ET setup. So ET setups are really good because there's actually a probability of success associated with it. Oh, thank you, Rachel. Yeah, everything is okay. There was just a bit of volatility. Yeah, so that's 1424. That's the ET setup on Shopify. So I picked up a few, and that's at 1510 contracts at around 250, 240. So if this actually rips up higher, and does this ET, which is about a 5.32% move, which is probable because now you can see that the algorithm here is long Shopify. Okay, with the futures trading higher, and we got a TTM squeeze and a wolf wave target, a wolf wave forming on the Thinkorswim platform on the 15-minute time frame with after hours turned on. We have a wolf wave target for Shopify at 14. My best guess, if I had to project the target level even further out, would be about 1444, but let's just make that simpler by just using that 21-day moving average. So 1423. Let's see what this thing has. 21-day moving average has 1425. So Thinkorswim has a 21-day moving average at 1447, and that's the 14. Yeah, that's because it was probably calculating the previous, the current day. So it could either be wherever the 21-day moving average positions itself. That's where the target is going to be. So half the target of the ET would be 1395. That's conservative in terms of taking profits. Aggressive would be to hold the whole position up to the 21-day moving average, and I would probably hold like 50% of those positions, especially if the trend is dropping below 0.8. If the trend is dropping below 0.8, then you might even consider holding the whole entire position all the way till the end of the day, where the last hour could really rip up Shopify even higher, up to making a move up to 5.32%. So right now, yeah, Shopify is up in the pre-market along with Roku. We also have Boeing that's up in the pre-market, up about $1, almost $1. And then we have AMD that's up another 60 cents. Roku's up another $1%, and Shopify is also up. So that's and then Netflix is also. Let's take a look at Netflix quickly. So Netflix has got a 30-minute TTM squeeze, like I mentioned before, and 670 is a possible target. But let's take a look at what we can kind of make out of this chart. So on the daily time frame, when we look at Netflix, it's long on the algorithm, right, with an A6. So A6 hasn't even triggered on Netflix. So most likely it's going to trigger by pushing even higher. And this is new 52-week highs. And I think Netflix is getting ready to make a AMC GME type of move because there is an A8. Okay, there's an A8 in Netflix, which we're kind of missing out on. We could have just aggressively added on the dips on every single dip. But I think this could run it up to about $700. The algorithms are all along Netflix as well. Okay, so yeah, before I end off, the main problem right now in the market is basically this this S&P gap. So if we turn on the gap finder, that gap right there is where is the biggest problem. I don't know if that's a real futures gap. All futures gaps, almost all, like 90% of them get filled. And I'm not sure if that's going to fill. So it has, the probability is higher now because we're making lower highs. And we could even end up unfortunately even doing something even worse, which is where's that drawing tool? A inverted head and shoulders and fail. Earnings is just around the corner, kicking off with Netflix. And if Netflix beats, then yeah, this thing is gonna try to retest and do a double top. I think this is the most likely path. It's not. You don't just get these like things just go straight down, especially for the S&P. They just don't go straight down like mRNA. It just kind of goes and then it bounces. So what we kind of expect here, since now we got this BLT that's forming, we think that this Darvish channel here is going to be the short-term resistance level that could start to roll it over again lower. That's one scenario. Or the second scenario would be to run it up to this Darvish channel and then make a new 52-week high and then dump over. So I don't know what the answer is. I just know that there's a gap, and that gap is a big problem. So there's no way around that gap, and there's nothing you can do to hedge or anything. You just have to position size on good positions that are going to provide the highest return, and just not get too over leverage yourself, because last night, even though the trend gave us 1.36 indicating the market was going to rally today, which I mentioned, it dumped pretty hard, okay, and then it opened up green at pretty much close to the green this morning, and now we have the trend up at 2.03 with the futures moving higher. We're expecting the trend to drop to 0.8, and that would create a market frenzy, pushing the whole entire market higher and making a run up to the 52-week highs. But the main question is, what are they going to do with this gap? When is this going to fill? So I really don't know. Don't be fooled in thinking that everyone is making. You can't. It's really hard to make millions and millions of dollars at 52-week high. I guess it's easier said than done to make $1 million from here to here. But now making $1 million here to here, is this the next leg up? So we want to just kind of wait and just be cognizant of this gap fill and determine whether or not that's a real gap, which I've been looking through Thinkorswim. Thinkorswim seems to be a little bit more reliable, but TradeStation is the most reliable. But here, yeah, that gap is a pretty nasty looking gap. And when you see an A6 like that, it could go either way, higher or lower. I'm just going to stick with my original bias and always be bullish the market as much as I can. And then and just assume that it's going to take out this high right here at 4,473. Okay, so far futures are green. I don't think we're going to like today. Today's a little weird day because it went deep red and then goes deep green. So how can we, does that negate the whole choppiness now? Are we now going to have a follow through to the upside? So right now that's what seems to be the case. It seems like we're going to get follow through to the upside for most of the tickers that are trading green. And once the market starts getting extended, be careful with how much risk you're going to hold into Friday, because we could get another dip. And when you take a look at the market internals, you just want to make sure that tomorrow morning this VIX starts dropping like 6%, and then this volume here starts to rip up into the sell the F and rip threshold levels. That would be a good sign to know. You'll know that that's what you want, and you know that you want to hold as much as you can all the way into the end of the day. However, if the trend hits anywhere above 2 tomorrow morning, then that's a warning sign that the market could dump on Friday really hard, or Monday. Okay, it seems like the last 2 Mondays they dumped it pretty hard. Okay, and then finally, let's just look at Tesla and Boeing. So Tesla, and then also Apple. So Tesla's got this A6, and in my best guess, I think it's going to start to make a move on TGIF. That means holding it over the weekend. And if you haven't noticed, 2 weeks ago when we made 1,000% on Tesla, that was the day where the market was dumping pretty hard. And then this week on Monday, last Monday, the market was dumping and Tesla was trading up like almost 3% on Monday. So that's 2 for 2. And I wouldn't be surprised to see 3 for 3, especially with this A6. So I'll be looking to open up Tesla calls for onboarders on Friday. But that's that'll depend on what Thursday does, because Thursday Tesla also has a 78-minute TTN squeeze that's just itching to break out higher or break down lower, and it also has a 30-minute TTN squeeze, as you can see here. So 78-minute TTN squeeze with a 30-minute TTN squeeze and an A6. So Tesla's getting ready to make a breakout. And unfortunately, the algorithm is not long Tesla. It was, but it's been choppy, so it was opening, closing positions. But I think, in my opinion, Tesla's ready to break out. And looks like there's a gap here at 843. That would be the cleanest target for Tesla to achieve on Monday. Apple. So I have the 160 calls, and Apple has a lot of gaps. And October is really strong for Apple, and I always wanted to buy the dips here, but I'm gonna wait till Friday. Obviously, buying here would have been a great opportunity, but that's the same case over here. Buying here would have been great, and then you would have draw down again today, and then now you're kind of up but drawing down because of the theta decay. I'm just gonna wait till Friday to decide whether I'm gonna add to these Apple calls. They are drawing down. But we have lots of time left to add into them, and I think there's a lot of gaps above, and maybe even look for it to retest that 52-week high at 157 by mid the second week of October. We have November monthly contracts 160, so adding to those 160 calls at this price is obviously a discount, but when we add to them is the most important part of the equation, right? When do we add them? Because if we added here, we'd have been drawing down, and if we added here, we would have been adding to a drawdown, and now we're up but drawing down still. So we want to just be careful and time it with the TGIFs, because that's when Apple makes this big move. I don't think there's an A6 yet, but today's bullish action looks promising. However, look at that gap. They left it open here at 137. So that's like almost identical to the S&P futures. That almost looks like that they are not going to fill the gap until after earnings. So most likely run up to here. And maybe a crazy breakout. If that happens, then yeah, that gap is going to be left open until January, March, almost. Okay, and then finally AMD. So I've already reduced these positions, but AMD has got an A6, and it's looking to see at least 108 by tomorrow. And if we're really lucky on this A6, then it could be possibly 122, but not going to be this week. It's going to be probably next week. 122 for a double top. And then Boeing. I don't know if I did Boeing, but Boeing has gaps here, but I'm looking to close my Boeing as soon as it gets to 234. There's an A6 in Boeing with a Wolf Wave, and just hold on to one contract because that does have a daily Wolf Wave, looking for that move up to 248. That could happen on Monday. If the markets crash for tech, we could easily see rotation coming out of NASDAQ into the Dow, and that would be very bullish for Boeing, because that's what happened the last time when Boeing gapped up 12%. Boeing gapped up 12% on a daily wolf wave on Monday, and the markets were crashing, especially tech. But the only thing that was green that day was Boeing, up 12%. That was in January. Okay, so yep, that's about it. Thank you very much for your time. I've recorded this session, and once it's done processing, I will post it. Thank you very much, and have a great evening, everyone.